In this video, you will learn how to weave paper together in order to make collages like these. I'll show you several different techniques of paper weaving. Here are some examples I found from other artists. You can see what happens when you use pictures of faces and combine this technique with different cut shapes. You can also make three-dimensional objects such as baskets, or even complete outfits. However, today we're going to focus on two-dimensional collages. These are examples from a personal friend of mine who is a collage artist who only does paper weaving and never uses adhesive in her work. Woven paper collages can be very intricate and involved, like the examples you see here. However, they can also be very simple and beautiful. I'll show you the basics of this technique, and you can explore and try different things with it. Collage is a great creative tool for exploring emotions and associations that you make, and doing these paper weavings can be really fun and experimental. So the first type of collage we're going to do is a paper weaving like this. You can see I took two different images from magazines that were from Nat Geo, and I cut strips and wove them in and out in opposite directions. And the back side has a different look as well because you get the back side of those sheets. And I did put tape on this one to keep it together, but you can do this without tape or glue if you cut thinner pieces. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So the first step is to find two pieces of paper, or it could be more than two, but you need at least two that are around the same size. So I have some pieces from magazines in here. I have some maps and different things, but you could also just use plain paper, or you could use paper that you've drawn on. You could use newspaper, anything you can find. So try to find two sheets of paper. If you are working with images and trying to do collage, I'd like for you to think about maybe a concept for the images that you're putting together. So part of collaging for me is like first finding the material that I want to use, looking through all of it and seeing what inspires me, pulling out a few sheets, which is what I did here. And then making associations. So for me, I was thinking of these two pieces because I thought that they would be an interesting combination since we have both natural landscapes, but one is very calm and empty, and the other one is an exploding volcano, so it's full of energy. And I thought to put these two together in a weaving might be an interesting combination of those two feelings. So part of collage, like I was saying, is making associations with what you put together. So you might think about two different types of images that you want to put together to combine feelings or messages. But you could also just put images together that you think look neat, or just anything you have access to. Okay, so we need to cut these into little strips like this, like what I did with the last one. And I'm going to do that without using scissors or anything. A really easy way and a good way to get clean lines like that is to just fold the paper. So something with paper that you should know when you're folding and tearing it is that all paper has a grain direction. So when paper is made, it has fibers, and the fibers are going to line up this way or this way, and that's the grain. So how you can tell that is if you gently fold, you might feel a little resistance in that direction, and then gently fold it the other way and see if you feel more resistance. So I'm feeling more resistance when I go to fold it this way. So that's telling me my grain is running like this. So what that says is that it's going to be easier for me to tear this way. I could tear against the grain, but I'll just have to be a little more careful because when you tear against the grain, it's going to want to go more crooked. So for this piece of paper, I'm going to choose to go this way. So how I do that is I'm just going to make a fold, and you can make these strips as thin or thick as you want to. Also, they don't all have to be the same thickness. They can be, varying thicknesses, and you'll get a different weaving pattern that way. So when you fold the paper, a really good way to make it nice and crisp is to use your fingernail. I use kind of the back of my thumbnail and press it against my finger like this. So I just go like that. because we need these folds to be nice and crisp, and that's a really good way to do that. So go ahead and fold one. If you want them all the same thickness, a good way to do that is to make like accordion folds so that you're sort of measuring based off of that. So I fold one way, turn it over, and fold the other way. If I want them all the same thickness. Again, you can do them different thicknesses, but I'm going to go ahead and do that, so folding back and forth all along. So now I have an accordion like this. And these folds here will make it easy for me to tear straight strips along these lines. So we have it folded this way. Again, you might want to reinforce with your fingernails like that. And then you want to turn it and fold it in the other direction too. So that'll help kind of weaken that area where you're going to tear. And then carefully tear along that edge where you folded. It might be helpful to set it down on the table like that. So same thing, this one's going this way. I'm going to fold it back in that direction, use my fingernails. And also something that's helpful is you can actually lick here to put a little bit of moisture on it, which will also help it tear evenly. So I'm going to do that. So I just licked along the edge like you would with an envelope. And now that kind of loosens up the paper and makes it easier to tear in a straight line. So if you're having trouble tearing in a straight line, you might try licking the edge of the fold like I did. You could also put a ruler or some sort of straight edge here and hold it down if you have anything like that that will help you fold. So like, let's see, maybe I could try this Nat Geo. I would just put it down there, apply some pressure with my other hand, and that'll help me tear a straight edge with the paper. You just want to go slowly and carefully here. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same with the rest of my paper here. So as you can see, I've cut that into even strips using that tearing method. I was reinforcing the folds as I was tearing. Some of them got a little uneven like this, but that's okay. That'll add character when we're weaving. But I did find that licking the edge helped a lot to get them to not do that. So now I'm going to do the same with this one. And I could choose to tear it like this if I wanted it to line up like that, or I could tear it like this if I wanted to line it up in the other direction. I think I'm going to do this so that I have it longer on the edges, which will make it more stable. So I'm going to go ahead and tear this one like that, the same way. Okay, so here are my two images that I'm trying to combine. They're both cut or torn into about 1/2 inch strips. And now I'm going to start weaving. So I want this image to be facing this way, and I'm going to have this image face this way. So what I'm going to do is line them up. If you have tape, you could tape the top part here, or you could just start weaving. So, and then hope that they'll lock in together and you won't need the tape. But yeah, so I'm going to start by going under this strip, then over this strip. Then I'm going to go under that strip, over this strip, and going in opposite directions. So you just keep going. You could go like this, over, under. It'll be loose at first. Oh, I made a mistake here. See, so those are both going under in a row. We need to change that. They'd have to go opposite. So that one goes under, this one's going to go over. Now this one will go under. And you can start like lower down too. That will help with the looseness. And you could do the images in the correct order so they look like the picture, or you could jumble them up. You could think about having one strip going upside down or facing the back side. You know, you could combine multiple images. It doesn't necessarily have to be in order. You could play around with that part of it if you wanted to, but I was thinking I wanted these to go in order. So this one started underneath this strip, over this strip. The next one we're going to go opposite. So now I'm going to start by going over and then under, and then over and then under. So we're creating this sort of checkerboard effect. So over, under. As I said, it's going to be a little bit loose at first, but just be patient with it. The more that you add to it, oops, made a mistake there. The more strips that you start to add, the more stable it'll get. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up here, this strip, and then keep adding the rest of the strips there. Again, over, under in a checkerboard kind of pattern. Here's my finished weaving. I'm going to pick it up gently because it's not taped or glued, but it is in the middle here pretty solid. It's not falling apart the same way as this one was. This one I did with thicker strips, and so I had to tape it or else it was sort of falling apart. Also, these pieces were shorter, but I think I had more success with this one since my strips were thinner. So if you don't have tape or glue or scissors, this is a way that you could make a collage, but if you did have tape or glue and you felt like you wanted to secure it more, you could tape on the back side here. Something else that you could try to secure the edges without tape is like folding these over. So maybe I come on the back side, fold this over, and then, you know, tuck it under there, fold this over, and tuck it there. So that could also help to anchor it. But you have to have extra length here, right, in order to do that. But I think that helps a little bit too. So these ones would have to come forward or just tuck underneath maybe. Something like that. So you could try folding all the edges. But yeah, you can see that I get interesting textures from the torn edges, which I really like. I like that you sort of abstract the images. You know, at first when they were just individual pieces, you could see what they were, but now you just see fractions of that and you get interesting color combos. Like I like this part here where both of the images were darker versus over here where you have the different colors. So it's really fun to see the ways that the images combine like that when you do. So I'm going to try another weaving with these two sheets. I have a map and a blank piece of pink sort of peach colored paper. And I'm going to try to make this the base and have a little bit of a frame on the weaving. So in order to do that, I'm going to fold this paper in half like that. And then I'm going to fold here. And I'm going to try to fold just from here to here to do the weaving so that I don't have this part cut and I have a little bit of a frame around it. So I'll do that sort of the same way that we did the other one. I'm going to make fold like this. However, I'm not going to fold this edge. So I'm not going to fold past that fold. I'm going to just fold here. And I'll go in both directions, reinforce that. And I'm going to lick right here with my tongue to make it a little easier to tear. And then I'm going to tear just like that. And then stop here before I get to the edge. So I'll go ahead and do that down to about here so I have an even frame on all the edges. Okay, so again, I kept this frame. I didn't tear all the way to the edges, so I have something like this. And when I open it up, I'll have something that looks like that. So you have this torn here, but it's still attached along the edges. So now what I'm going to do is tear this one up and then weave it inside of this frame. And I'm going to tear this one without folding it to see if I could get more of a jagged kind of edge, which might be fun and interesting. See how I get something like that. And see, it might be different if I tear it this way. So again, yeah, when I tear with the grain versus against the grain, I'll get, going against the grain, I'll get something like that, and going with the grain, I'll get something like that. So I'm going to do the rest of these with the grain. So they're a little straight, but still kind of rough, torn edge like that, because that's a fun look. And it's a little less work than doing the folds to get straight edges. Okay, so now let's weave these inside of this one. Same technique. On this one, I'm going to start under, over, under, over. Next one is going to be opposite, so we go over, under, over, under. So as you can see, this one came out pretty good since I left it attached here, as opposed to this one. I did a tighter weaving with more pieces, but it's loose on the ends, so it's still kind of loose like that. But it's a different look, so up to you whether you prefer to leave it here and have kind of more of a sturdy piece, or do the individual strips like that and just have it be a little loose, or add tape to the edges. I also did another one like this where I prepared the paper by folding it in half and then cutting or tearing these edges but leaving it attached here. And I wanted to try something with a piece that I actually tore into a shape rather than just doing the strips. I'm going to do the same weaving process where I go over and then under and over and under. And then I'm going to scoot it to the side so you can see it just lines up there with that edge where I didn't cut. But now it has these sort of stripes, but you still see the shape, and it's, you know, it's stuck in there pretty good. So I was also going to attach different pieces to it. Let's see, let's try this one. So here I started by going over, and I'm going to start by going under, over, and then I'm going to see if I can go diagonally on top of it. It's getting caught here a little bit, so let's pull it like that. And then let's see if I can make an X go like this. Now I'm going to go under and then over just the ones that are available. Under and then over and then under. No, over. Okay, maybe I'll go under. So you can attach it in a way that's not like the grid so much. Let's see if I can get another piece. Maybe we'll use something like this and do like a round shape and see if we can attach it here. So let's start right here, and we'll start, since this is going over, we're going to start by going under and then over and under. So you can see that I wove this in and out. It's different than just using the grid, you know, so you could try something a little more experimental, but still using this weaving technique. I did run into a little issue here where it wasn't fitting, so I just tore there so it would fit to go over and under the weaving. So you could try to experiment with different shapes like that too if you wanted to do something different than just the grid and use different images that are larger and different shapes. So another thing that you can do with the paper weaving is to make a piece that sort of goes in and out like this. And again, when you're choosing your images, think of just things that look interesting to you or associations that you want to make. So I have a picture of Earth from outer space, and then I have a strip of balloons here. So for me, I thought that was an interesting combination because of the imagery as well as the colors. So all you need to do is make 2 slits in the paper to make sort of a window of where you want the images to go through. So think about where you want it to go in the composition. I'm going to have mine go around here. So I'm going to make a mark with a pencil on either side, here and here, so I know how long to make the first cut, and then further down so I know how wide I want to make it. So I'm going to have one cut that goes here and one that goes across here. And then again, I'm going to just do the tearing technique of folding it and looking at my my marks there, because I want it to be about the same size. If it's longer, it'll be a little too loose. And then carefully try to just tear right there. You might also try doing this, doing a little fold going the other direction so you know where to stop. So now I have 2 cuts here. Those are going to be my window. And I'm going to just weave the other piece in and out. And then you can see you get something fun that goes like this. So the idea is that it sort of moves through and you can see different things. So you could see how it's animated. So you could try this with you know, a piece that already exists like that, or you can collage your own images on here to have sort of multiple things that pass through the window. And you could make this piece really extra long, like taping multiple pieces together, and it could extend out from here. So actually I'll try that to show you what that looks like. So now I've taped all of this strip together with images from books and magazines that I thought were interesting and colorful. So again, we're just going to weave this under and over to go into our little window, which becomes part of this collage. And then you can just go like this and it keeps going. I taped them together, so there's a little bit of a snag there, but you could fix that. And you see all these different aspects of the collage. So here are all my finished collages. Again, I showed you the very basic technique of the paper weaving. I showed you how to do it with a frame where you don't cut the edges, so it's a little more stable. And I showed you how to do it with pieces that are different shapes. And I showed you how to make sort of a window that can be animated like that. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and again, just use whatever you have access to, or use images that are interesting or conceptual to you and can help you think about certain things that you want to make comparisons between. Okay, have fun and enjoy.